My name is Linda, and I'm 22 years old. I recently became a housewife after marrying my husband Paul last year. We're the same age, so we understand each other really well. We have similar thoughts, values, and ideas about life, which makes things between us very easy and comfortable. We were very much in love before getting married, and I'm happy to say that our love has stayed just as strong since we tied the knot. But not everything has been smooth. There was something that bothered me a bit when we first got married. After the wedding, Paul and I went to visit his parents to greet them properly. That's when I noticed that my mother-in-law had a very traditional way of thinking. While we were visiting, she suddenly asked, "Now that you're married, you'll be moving in with us, right?" She said it like it was totally expected. Paul and I looked at each other in surprise and said at the same time, "What?" We hadn't planned anything like that. We had always wanted to live on our own as a couple. Paul calmly replied, "No, we plan to live together on our own, just the two of us." My mother-in-law didn't like that at all. She looked shocked and said, "Why? You're the eldest son." Both Paul and I felt uncomfortable. We didn't want to upset her, but we also didn't want to change our plans. Thankfully, Paul's father stepped in and said, "That's an old way of thinking. Let them live how they want to." He helped calm the situation down. However, there was another issue that came up soon after. We hadn't planned to have a big wedding ceremony. Neither of us liked big events, and we thought it would be better to use the money on something more meaningful to us, like traveling. We both preferred something simple and didn't want to spend too much on a fancy party. But of course, not everyone agreed with that either. Then something very strange happened. One day we were visiting my in-laws again. My mother-in-law walked over to a couple who had brought some food in Tupperware. She went to talk to them, but just as she did, my father-in-law suddenly fell out of his chair. Everyone turned to look. He was holding his stomach and looked like he was in a lot of pain. Someone asked him, "What's wrong?" He answered in a weak voice, "I just ate a little food from the kitchen. Why does my stomach hurt so badly?" Then my mother-in-law quietly asked him, "Did you eat some of that?" The way she said it made me feel very uneasy, and I didn't miss her tone. It made me wonder what was really going on. When I told my parents about what was going on, my mother-in-law's face changed color. She looked shocked and upset all over again. She said loudly, "How can you not have a wedding?" As I mentioned before, my mother-in-law is very old-fashioned. She strongly disagreed with our choice not to have a big wedding. She couldn't understand why we would skip such an important tradition. She said, "How are we supposed to explain this to the relatives? The eldest son not having a wedding? What will they think?" In her mind, being the eldest son means you have to follow all the traditions. That includes having a big wedding with family, friends, food, and gifts. Any idea that goes against her way of thinking is something she refuses to accept. Thankfully, my father-in-law stepped in again and supported us. He said calmly, "None of the relatives really care about the wedding. Most of them just see it as a chance to eat good food and have fun. After a while, no one will even remember that you didn't have a ceremony. If you two want to skip the wedding, that's your choice." His kind words made things much easier for us. It helped us avoid being forced into doing something we didn't want to do. My father-in-law respected our wishes and didn't pressure us to follow old customs. It really made me feel grateful. Still, my mother-in-law wasn't happy. She kept her feelings quiet, but I could tell she was disappointed. Despite that, Paul and I got married without a wedding ceremony. We started our life together in our own home, just the two of us. I became a housewife so I could support my husband and take care of our home. I enjoy doing housework, and I feel happy when I make lunch and dinner for Paul every day. Cooking, cleaning, and organizing the house gives me a sense of purpose. I think it will be even more enjoyable when we have children someday. About 3 months after our marriage, my in-laws invited Paul over for a visit. We had not gone to their house since the wedding, and honestly, both of us were a little nervous. There had been some disagreements with my mother-in-law, so we didn't know what to expect. I prepared myself, thinking she might try to control or criticize me again. But to my surprise, she didn't. Instead, she was very kind and welcoming. She smiled at me and said, "If you ever need help with housework or cooking, feel free to ask me. I have so many recipes and tips. I'll teach you everything I know." She really loves to cook and enjoys inviting neighbors to her home for little parties. She told me her home gatherings are very popular, and she holds them quite often. This new side of her gave me hope that maybe things would get better between us. One day, I had a homemade meal cooked by my mother-in-law. It was really delicious. I was happy and surprised by how good the food tasted. Not only was my father-in-law kind, but my mother-in-law also treated me nicely. I started to think that maybe I had worried too much in the beginning. I felt more relaxed, and even my husband agreed. He said he felt comfortable visiting his parents now and that it would be okay to see them once in a while. Then, about 4 months later, my in-laws invited us again. This time they wanted to have a small dinner party at their house. Since we had a good experience during our last visit, we were excited to go. We trusted them more now and thought it would be fun. That evening, my mother-in-law made food that looked like it came from a fancy restaurant. The dishes were beautiful, and everything smelled great. My husband was really impressed. He said, "Wow, your cooking keeps getting better. You didn't make food like this when I was a kid. The vegetables from your garden taste amazing. Thank you for making so many wonderful dishes." I thanked her, and she smiled proudly. She told me to eat a lot and enjoy myself. We all had a good time, and the dinner seemed perfect. But later that night, I started to feel very sick. My stomach hurt badly. I rushed to the bathroom and began to feel dizzy and weak. I heard my husband calling out, "Linda, are you okay?" His voice felt far away. The next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed. My husband had called an ambulance, and I was taken to the hospital quickly. The doctors checked everything but couldn't find the cause. They said it didn't seem like food poisoning or anything dangerous. I wondered if maybe I had just eaten too much olive oil from the pasta. That was the only thing that stood out to me. I was put on an IV and rested at the hospital. After a while, I started to feel better. My husband took me home, and we went to bed, both of us feeling confused. What just happened? I asked myself. But then, 3 months later, it happened again. I got sick after eating another meal at my in-laws' house. It was the same kind of pain, and I felt dizzy again. The only thing that was the same both times was that I had eaten my mother-in-law's cooking. Was there something wrong with the food? But my husband ate the same dishes and felt completely fine. Then, just 2 months after that, the same thing happened for the third time. After another meal at my in-laws, I got sick again. I invited a friend over and told her everything. She said, "Could this be from stress? Maybe your body is reacting to the pressure or your feelings about your mother-in-law." That made me wonder, was it the food, or was it something deeper? I felt a little nervous when I heard what my friend said. I had always believed that I was being open-minded and trusting toward my mother-in-law. But maybe, deep down, I had started to feel a little scared or uncomfortable around her. I didn't realize it before, but her actions and the things that kept happening were making me uneasy. After all, every time I visited my in-laws' house and ate my mother-in-law's food, I got sick. My husband noticed this too, and he became very worried about me. So he suggested something that made sense. We should stop visiting his parents' house for a while. He said, "I don't know why this keeps happening, but you only get sick after we eat at my parents' house. Maybe it has something to do with Mom's cooking." I didn't know what to think. The food always looked and tasted great, but still, it was strange how I got sick every time. After that, my mother-in-law called my husband a few times, asking us to come over for dinner. He always turned her down, saying he wanted to protect me. Things stayed quiet for a while. I started to feel healthier and more at ease by not visiting. But then we got another dinner invitation that we couldn't say no to. My brother-in-law and his wife were visiting my in-laws to greet the family after their wedding. Everyone was expected to be there. I felt a little down because I had just started feeling better by staying away from the house. My husband told me, "You don't have to eat much. Just be polite, and we'll leave early if anything happens." That made me feel a bit better. I decided I would try to eat very little and just enjoy the evening without worrying too much. When the day of the party came, we went to the house. My mother-in-law greeted me warmly and kindly, just like before. She smiled and talked nicely to me, and as long as we were just talking, I didn't feel sick at all. That made me think, maybe the food really was the problem after all. Soon, my brother-in-law and his wife arrived, and we all chatted together. The mood was happy, and everything felt normal. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law was busy in the kitchen. She worked quickly and skillfully, preparing dish after dish. The food looked beautiful and smelled amazing. She was clearly proud of what she had made. It looked just like something you'd see in a fancy restaurant. Honestly, all the food I had eaten before tasted really good too. That's what confused me. If the food was bad, wouldn't it taste strange? No matter how many times I thought about it, I couldn't figure out why I kept getting sick. Then, just as we sat down, my mother-in-law turned to me and said, "Linda, you liked this dish last time, didn't you? Go ahead and have some more." I froze for a moment. Should I eat it again? "I made it really delicious today, so please try it," my mother-in-law said with a smile as she looked at me. I didn't know what to do. I sat there quietly, feeling unsure. I didn't want to eat it, but I also didn't want to upset her. Just then, my husband stepped in and said gently, "Linda isn't feeling well today, so please let her eat only what she feels like. She'll take something if she wants later." But my mother-in-law didn't seem ready to give up. "Well then, this small amount should be okay, right?" she said, and placed a small plate of food in front of me. It had a little less food than the others, but she still wanted me to eat something. I was still unsure and wondering what to do when my brother-in-law spoke up. "Linda," he said kindly, "if you're not feeling well, you really don't need to force yourself. I've already greeted you, so if you start feeling sick, don't be shy. Just go home and rest." That surprised me. I didn't expect him to say that, but I was really thankful. I realized then that my husband had probably told his brother and sister-in-law about what had been happening, that I was getting sick every time I ate at my in-laws' house. Now it seemed they were trying to help me too. My mother-in-law looked like she knew she couldn't force me to eat anymore. She paused, then said, "Well, I've already made it. Just take it home in a Tupperware container and eat it later." I wondered why she was so determined to make me eat her food, but I figured that if I took it home, I didn't have to actually eat it. "Okay," I said politely. "Thank you very much." Just as my mother-in-law turned to get the Tupperware container, something shocking happened. My father-in-law suddenly fell from his chair and collapsed on the floor. We all turned, our heads in shock. He was holding his stomach and looked like he was in serious pain. "What's wrong?" we asked. It was strange. He hadn't even started eating the food on the table yet. What could have caused this? Then my father-in-law said something that surprised everyone. "I just had a small bite of something from the kitchen. Why is my stomach hurting like this?" Right then, my mother-in-law asked him in a quiet but tense voice, "Did you eat some of that?" Her tone caught my attention. It didn't feel right. My husband quickly called an ambulance, and my mother-in-law left with my father-in-law to go to the hospital. The rest of us just sat there, shocked and confused. But I couldn't stop thinking about what she had said. My sister-in-law also looked worried. She quietly said to me, "I heard what she said too." We both began to wonder, was there some kind of secret hidden in the kitchen? After what happened at the dinner party, we decided to take a closer look at the kitchen where my mother-in-law had been cooking. We felt something wasn't right, and we wanted to know the truth. When we looked around the kitchen, we found something that really surprised us. Right after that, we got into the car and drove to the hospital where my father-in-law had been taken. We were worried but also curious to find out what the doctors had discovered. As soon as we reached the hospital and got past the front desk, we hurried to his room. When we got close, we heard voices from inside. The doctor was asking my mother-in-law if she had any idea what might have caused her husband's sudden illness. My mother-in-law replied quickly, "No, I have no idea at all." Just then, we walked into the room. My mother-in-law looked surprised and a bit nervous when she saw us. "Oh, you all came here?" she said, forcing a smile. "It's okay. Everything will be fine as long as I'm here." But we weren't about to let this moment pass. I looked at her and said calmly, "I need to talk to you." Then I stepped closer. My husband, his brother, and his brother's wife all followed behind me, standing with me in silence. My mother-in-law looked confused and a bit scared. "What's wrong with you all?" she asked. We saw that my father-in-law's condition had improved a little. His skin looked better, and the doctor said he was more stable. but they still didn't know exactly what had made him so sick. The doctor told us that he had been awake for a short time when he first got to the hospital. He had gone to the bathroom many times and lost a lot of fluids, which caused dehydration and made him pass out. I looked directly at my mother-in-law. I reached into my bag and pulled something out. When she saw what I was holding, her eyes widened. "Do you recognize this?" I asked. She looked nervous and said, "Well, what is it?" She was pretending not to know, but I could tell she was lying. "This is a laxative," I said. "We found a large amount of powdered laxatives in the kitchen." Mother-in-law didn't say anything. The room became quiet. Then the doctor spoke. "It looks like his symptoms match the effects of something called laxa leaves. We'll run some tests to check." He continued, "If we find laxa leaves in his system, we'll ask him when he took them. If he doesn't remember taking them, that means someone may have given it to him on purpose. In that case, it could be considered a crime, an injury charge." As soon as the doctor said that, my mother-in-law panicked and shouted, "No, it's not what you think." Everyone looked at her. The truth was beginning to come out. "I didn't mean to make him eat that food. It was just a mistake," my mother-in-law said nervously. My husband didn't stay quiet. He looked at her seriously and asked, "Then who were you trying to feed? It too?" She hesitated. "Well, it's not what you think," she stammered. She looked very nervous, and it was clear she didn't want to answer. My husband spoke firmly. "If you're not going to tell us the truth, we'll have to call the police and let them investigate." At that moment, she gave up and said, "Okay, fine, I'll tell you everything." Then she took a deep breath and confessed. "It was all meant for Linda," she said. "I wanted to punish her by putting laxa leaves in her food." I was shocked. "Punish me? Why? What did I ever do to you?" She looked at me with anger in her eyes. "Because ever since my son married he changed. He stopped listening to me. He didn't live with us, and you didn't even have a proper wedding. You made him do all of that. You turned him against me. That's why I see you as my enemy." Her words hurt, but I knew they were not fair. "That's not true. Paul and I made those decisions together," I said. "It wasn't just me. My husband also stood up for me. We discussed everything together. Don't blame her for your disappointment." Then I asked her directly, "So all this time you were putting laxa leaves in my food on purpose?" She nodded. "At first I only used a little. That's why you didn't get too sick." "That's nonsense," I shouted. "I was rushed to the hospital. How can you say it wasn't much?" My husband and his brother got angry too. "How could you do something so cruel to Linda?" my husband said. "She did nothing wrong." His brother added, "If someone treated my future wife like this, I'd be furious too." Then both of them said something that shocked everyone. "We don't want anything to do with you anymore," they said to their mother. "You've gone too far." My mother-in-law looked terrified. She begged them, "Please, don't say that. I didn't mean for things to go this far." Just then, we heard a voice from the hospital bed. My father-in-law had woken up and heard everything. "You did something terrible because of your pride," he said. "You should be arrested for what you did. I'm ashamed of you." "No, you don't mean that. You're not going to divorce." "Me, are you?" she asked him, looking scared. "That's not enough," he replied. "You will pay Linda $30,000, and you're going to earn it yourself. I won't help you at all." She panicked. "I can't. I've never worked before. I've always been a stay-at-home mom." "Too bad," he said. "If you don't agree, I'll divorce you and report you to the police." She had no choice. Now my mother-in-law is working to pay me back, little by little. My father-in-law watches her closely, and every dollar she earns goes to me. My mother-in-law seems very overwhelmed now. She looks tired and stressed, and it's clear that working and paying back the money is not easy for her. But to be honest, I think she deserves it. She hurt me deeply, not just physically, but emotionally too. What she did was wrong, and now she has to face the results of her actions. While she's going through all of this, my husband and I are living a peaceful and happy life. We've become even closer after everything that happened. He supports me fully, and I feel safe with him by my side. My father-in-law also stood up for me, and I'm very grateful to him. Both he and my husband told me that I don't have to see my mother-in-law again if I don't want to. That brought me a lot of relief. Just knowing I don't have to face her anymore makes me feel so much better. I've been through a lot these past few months. The stress, the hospital visits, the confusion, it all took a toll on me. But now I'm finally healing. And with my husband and father-in-law around, I know I'll be okay no matter what happens in the future. Feeding someone food with laxa leaves on purpose is a crime, isn't it? How could someone do something like that so easily, especially a mother-in-law? To her daughter-in-law? It's hard to believe. Most people would never imagine a family member doing something so harmful. It makes me wonder, why did my father-in-law marry someone like her? He seems like a kind and fair person, and both of his sons turned out to be good men too. Maybe my mother-in-law wasn't always like this. Maybe she changed over time. I don't know the full truth about her past, but what she did now was serious and dangerous. Her punishment is fair. Now she has to work and pay me $30,000, just like my father-in-law said. She is not allowed to skip work or hide money, and he watches over everything to make sure she does what she's supposed to. She's learning the hard way that actions have consequences. As for me, I'm trying to move forward. I'm focusing on my life with my husband. We cook together, laugh together, and support each other. We're building a peaceful home full of love, trust, and respect. I hope one day this painful memory will fade. And more than anything, I hope my mother-in-law learned something from this experience. Maybe, just maybe, she'll become a better person. But for now, I'm happy. I'm with the man I love, and we're living the life we chose together. That's all I could ever ask for. And yes, my wish is simple, that my husband and I will live happily ever after.